Welcome to another episode of Do You Really Know God? This week, we're talking Old Testament versus New Testament. So I start with Matthew 5:17 through 8. Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." Now, if you know the New Testament and Old Testament, a little bit of the differences is Old Testament's all written by prophets who talked to God and wrote down and spread God's law, what God told them.
Right, like Moses, King David.
Yeah. Uh, New Testament is all written by disciples who followed Jesus, and they wrote down all Jesus' teachings for his 3-year tour. And that's what they wrote the New Testament off of, is Jesus' teaching, who is the Son of God. Um, Old Testament, there's a lot of um, strange rules and laws. Like, you had to sacrifice your best sheep once a year, and we use.
You have to pray at the synagogue or Jacob's well, which some towns didn't even have a synagogue, and Jacob's well was in a single location.
So you had to travel.
So some people were basically traveling hours because they did everything on foot back then, just to be able to pray.
Yeah. Jesus came along, and Jesus basically told them, you don't have to do that. God's in your heart. Holy Spirit's in your body. You can pray anywhere. You can pray in your house.
Yeah.
So that is kind of one law he kind of changed, where he basically made it so it's easier for everybody to pray, because it was not feasible for people to all make it to the church. And not to mention, if you read on the histories of the churches back in that era, churches were not exactly the most holiest of places.
Yeah, they were full of corruption and greed.
And the kings rule. A lot of churches were ruled by kings, and kings made rules, not the priests. So Jesus kind of told people, you know what? Churches are very corrupt now. So yes, you can pray at home.
Well, the religion as a whole was coming to a screeching decline.
Yeah. There was a lot of...
It was pretty bad, unless you were a higher member of the church. And so God kind of realized that. He saw what was going on. He was like, you know what? I already destroyed the world once with the flood. And I've done what I can as far as the cities, destroying cities and things like that. That clearly isn't getting the message out there. So let me give one last attempt. And I'm going to send my son down there. And he's going to switch things up. So people aren't
misled.
Yeah, misled, and people can't become greedy about worshiping me, and people, more importantly, can't make money off of worshiping me.
Yeah. Which was a big problem back then.
Yeah. And so he basically said, here's my son, switch it up a little bit so people aren't misled, so people aren't taken advantage of, and everyone can worship me no matter where you are. Nobody can tell you any different. And Jesus was just kind of like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah. So the prophets of the Old Testament also, different writings and different things. Some of it, like my personal, this is not of the church. This is my personal readings, what my findings in the Bible. Some of it, they came out and they made it too, how do I want to put it? They made, kind of made it a little bit unbelievable, I guess we'd have to kind of say. with some of the writings in the Old Testament, where the New Testament, nothing was unbelievable. It was pretty much straightforward. Matthew, John, Luke, and all them who wrote. What Jesus was talking was more understandable, I guess you could say. In the Old Testament, it seemed there's a lot of vague areas that you could do, and a lot of preachers who preached off the Old Testament actually used that gray area to their advantage. And that's one of the reasons why the Pharisees of Israel wanted Jesus crucified so bad, is because he was calling them out or saying, no, that's not what God was saying in the Old Testament. That's a gray area and you're teaching it wrong to benefit your pocket.
Yeah.
So he basically took the gray area out of the Bible.
Yeah, and another thing, the way I look at it is, you have the Old Testament, which, like we already established, is kind of like the old set of rules, and like, how it was beforehand. And then you have the New Testament, which is basically Jesus coming in and say, all right, this isn't working, let's revamp it. And there's going to be, you can't take advantage of religion anymore. And I've had people ask, why even care about the Old Testament? Because you have certain, like the Jewish people, they have the Old Testament. They go by the Old Testament. They do not believe in the New Testament. They don't believe it should be in the Bible. You have certain religions or Christians that only go by the New Testament.
Yeah.
And you have other dominations that go by both of them. And I've talked to people before, and they're like, well, if the Old Testament is old, it doesn't matter anymore. Why even listen to it? Why read it? Why pay attention to it? Why teach it? And the biggest reason I say is because you got to look at it this way. World War II, if you think about World War II, that happened, it's done, it's gone. Things have changed since then. So why should we learn about it? Why do we care? Well, what's the point of teaching in the school? And it's all about the history.
The history, and not only that, you got to look at it as teaches a lot of do's and don'ts. Because, unfortunately, human nature has a problem with reenacting stuff that should be left dead in the past.
Yeah.
Like, look, bell bottoms are back. It's like, that should have been left in the 70s. Mullets are back. That should have been left back in the 80s. People tend to bring stuff back. You probably could. Stuff should be left. And the Old Testament has a lot of good teachings. It does have a lot of good teachings, and it has a lot of good rules to follow to kind of be godly. So it's good to actually know it and to learn it and to understand it in a proper way. The New Testament doesn't fully abolish the Old Testament, but what it does is it takes the gray area out. It enhances it. It takes that area where the Pharisees were turning around to make a profit on, like the sacrificing of goats, and they turned it around and made it so, yeah, you don't have to sacrifice goats. You don't have to go out and buy a goat. You know what? If you're poor and you don't have a goat, that's fine. You can pray without the goat. Pharisees were using stuff like the goats as a way to make money. And if you didn't have a goat or couldn't afford a goat, you were turned away. And God never expected or wanted anybody turned away from his teachings. And that's what Jesus kind of clarified. You don't need a goat no more. Don't sacrifice a goat. You need to, I don't care if you're broke. If you're poor, come listen. I will teach you. It doesn't matter how much money you have with your stature. Or as a preacher, you should not be collecting money to teach them. It's something you're supposed to be doing for free.
Yeah, and Jesus understands everyone needs to make a living, so it's okay to, be paid by the church through donations and things like that. He's not saying you should not be a career pastor, but what he's saying is don't be greedy with it. Yeah. Like, don't charge people for spreading the word. Like, if someone walks up to you and you're a pastor in Walmart and they say, "Hey, pastor, I seen you preach this Sunday and I had a question about your sermon." You can't teach them in like that little 10-minute segment you talk with them and be like, "All right, that'll be $20."
Yeah, give me a credit card. I'll tell you what you want to know.
Right. That's not how it works. You
my Cash App information.
Yeah. You are a vessel of God. You are somebody that people turn to learn more about God and to strengthen their own faith. And, excuse me. Back in the day, Jesus even went in and flipped tables in the temple because the Pharisees used it as a marketplace. It wasn't even a temple where you went to worship. It was a place where you walked in.
A flea market.
Yeah, where you walked in and people were selling goats. They were selling Bible translations. They were selling all kinds of different things just to get money out of people who were just trying to worship their God.
Yes. And there's certain stuff that you had to buy to make it into the temple.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go into the temple. And that's what Jesus put an end to. So, I mean, there is so many things in the Old Testament that is really good, useful information. There's some gray areas that's just not needed.
The way I like to look at it is if you want a parable or if you want something with Jesus, read the New Testament. If you want a Bible story, like
Triumph.
Yeah, like triumph or even despair, anything you want with the Bible as far as stories. Go in the Old Testament because that's where you get Genesis with Adam and Eve.
Yes.
That's where you get Noah's Ark. That's where you get King David and the lion and David and Goliath and Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's where all your fundamental stories come from.
Yes. And your fundamental teachings and knowledge of different things that can save you as far as a human race.
Right. And then you have the New Testament where Jesus came in and he kind of explains everything in, like I said, parables and metaphors and basically saying, yeah, you're like a mustard seed that was dropped on the side of the road. Or the parable of the talents.
Yeah.
That's all Jesus just trying to help communicate in commoner terms.
And to kind of clarify and take out gray area.
Right.
One thing Jesus did not leave is a gray area. The Old Testament, because it was written by prophets and not actually by God himself, prophet writers tend to leave a little gray area where future prophets or pastors or Pharisees tend to use that gray area to benefit their own stature, well-being. Where Jesus kind of, no, you're not getting rich off of God, man. That's not how it's supposed to be. You need to teach the Bible I just taught. And that's one of the reasons why the Pharisees wanted Jesus dead so much, is because he was taking that gray area out of the Bible. He's telling people, no, that's not how it happened. That's not how it was supposed to be told. This is how it's supposed to be told. And this is how you translate it. And the Pharisees did not like it because everything they've been teaching to kind of make a profit and get corrupt, Jesus was knocking down out of the water. So they needed him gone. And that's some of the reasons why the Jewish people still believe in just the Old Testament and Jesus is not the Messiah, just as a teacher, as a rabbi, because the Pharisees shot him down so quick to kind of save their own butts, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Which never worked out in the end. And that's what actually created Christians, because basically Jesus was, yes, he was Jewish. He's born Jewish. Um, he was a proud Jewish. But he also created Christians and Catholics, more or less. And he changed it around and said, look, yes, I'm Jewish and this, but if you're not going to believe in me and believe in what I stand for and believe what I teach, we have a problem. And that's why he taught his disciples, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. You're going to record everything I teach you. You're going to write it down so people can know the truth about the Old Testament. It's supposed to enhance the Old Testament. And yeah, he changed some laws, like you don't have to sacrifice sheep no more. You don't have to go to church to pray no more, to Jacob's well. You can pray right in your own home. And Jesus actually was the first one who actually really got into teaching us how to pray.
Yeah.
What we can and can't do praying, what we all we have to do to pray. He basically made it a little bit easier.
He took everything and put it in layman's terms so anybody could understand it.
Yeah.
Even a 5-year-old.
And with all that, I mean, obviously he died on the cross and took all our sins with him. So basically he renewed the human race. He basically made us new again.
Yeah.
Born again. He gave us a fresh start. He basically, if you're a NASCAR fan, he gave you that free lap. You lap down, an accident happened, he gave you the lucky dog, he put you back up front. He helped us out as a human race where it was very corrupt and going downhill pretty quick. And that's where the other religions come off of, were Christians and Catholics and Jehovah's Witnesses and that aspect, because they based the teachings off of Jesus Christ the Messiah. Some of the older religions, like the Jewish, they say, nope, he was not a Messiah. He was just a teacher, a rabbi, and we're not going to send his preaching. And the Jewish religion actually doesn't put him as a Messiah, but puts King David as a higher power to listen to in his books overall. And the Jewish believe that the Messiah never came because in the Jewish mind, for some reason, they had it in their head that the Messiah was going to be some great warrior coming back to defend and defeat the Romans and conquer the world for the Jews. So the world
Show
would be
up on
nothing
a
but
white
Jews.
horse.
Yeah, and come defeat the world. Where even myself, as reading the Old Testament, I don't see that. Because I see God as a loving God. So why is he going to create his son to destroy all his people? He's not. That's where the Muslims, certain way of Muslims is, they consider their Muhammad, their Messiah, who is a great conqueror. And, well, some Muslims do. Some Muslims consider him just as a prophet. But because he's a great conqueror, they considered, oh yeah, God sent him down to conquer the world. He didn't conquer the world, but he thought he was gonna. So there's different things about different religions, but New and Old Testament is, I think it's the biggest controversy I hear between people. They're like, I don't know what to believe because it says this in the Old Testament, but then Jesus says this. Well, the one to listen to is Jesus, because he's the one who said, I'm the one who will tell your name to my Father in heaven if you tell my name to your friends. He's the one who's going to be your Savior. He's the one who died on the cross for your sins. So, we actually had a pretty good debate before we decided to do this podcast. Me, Devin, and my son Christopher, and then his girlfriend Alexis. On different,
Probably like a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah, about different things and about the Bible and all this. And like a lot of people just find it so hard to um, comprehend because of the change from the Old Testament to New Testament. But Jesus actually told us follow him, teach what he says, and he will guide you from there on out. And he does. He does so much in the New Testament. If you actually read it, he tells you the right stories so you can. If you listen to some of his parables, it comes out and you can put it in place with people of the Old Testament too. And it's like, yes, I understand that now. And he talks about the teachings of that, of the points that we're supposed to be getting, not this gray area where you can make up and throw in your own little twists. But we had a pretty good conversation long on all that different stuff and different religions and like different things about different religions. But we all pray for the same God. We all just have different opinions on who the actual Messiah is.
Yeah.
And I was asked, how do I know that Christians are right? Well, one, because there's historical proof that Jesus was a real man and he did do what he did and he was alive. There's historic proof that the Romans actually documented all that and the Pharisees actually documented how they crucified him, put him in a tomb, and 3 days later his body went missing. Where'd he go? He arose like he said. Jesus always kept his promises. And the reason why no Christians are right on a religion, it's not just Christians. Catholics believe the same. Jehovah's Witnesses believe the same, that Jesus is the Messiah. And that is the key right there. That's the key to heaven right there. Believing in Jesus. Believe Jesus is the way. Teach Jesus' teaching and spread his name and he will tell your name to his Father in heaven. There's very few religions that go more on the Old Testament than does the New. Does that mean the Old Testament Bible people like the Jews are all going to hell? No, don't. A good part of them could be still going to heaven. Heaven and hell is not going to be determined by what religion you are. It's going to be determined on how you believe in God. Yeah. And how much you love God. So if you want to be just an Old Testament believer, there's nothing wrong with that. Just believe it in the right context. And I say this to people who believe in the Old Testament, not the New Testament. Still read the New Testament because the New Testament will put light on the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. It enhances it. It takes that gray area out. So when you see the gray area, you can say, hey, yeah, no. This is not meant this way. It's meant this way. This is the proper way it's meant. It enhances you and takes out the gray area so you can follow the right path. And you can be a follower of the Old Testament and still go to heaven, 100%. I'm not saying that all Jews are going to hell. I'm saying that so long as you read in it and follow in the right content, you'll be fine. But if you're reading it and doing it out of content and making a profit off of it, well, you might not. Because as I always say, it is easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven. Jesus says that, but I like to paraphrase it all the time. So, what else you got?
I mean, I think we touched on a lot of the big points. But the biggest thing is just remember the Old Testament, yes, it is old. Yes, it is not as followed as the New Testament. You should definitely refer to the New Testament before the Old Testament. But that doesn't discredit the Old Testament. That doesn't make the Old Testament mean nothing.
The Old Testament tells you how it started.
Right. It's just like the history books. You as a Christian, you should know that God is capable of wiping out a whole world with a flood. As a Christian, you should know that God will test you like he did with Abraham trying to kill his son, sacrifice his son. You should, and with Job, um, the Old Testament has so many, I guess you would say, good messages.
Solid points.
Yeah, it has so many aspects to
I
it.
have a lot of faith to believe in with some of the stories.
Yeah.
You know the faith that these people had in God, because they truly had faith in God. Like when David faced Goliath, the giant, that was a lot of faith he had to have. And with Job, everything that Job went through, and that is a beautiful
And to still
story,
sit there and be like, yeah, I believe in God. God's going to turn it around.
which God did.
But that's the thing is the Old Testament is not discredited by the New Testament. And I actually kind of don't like the way they're labeled as old and new, because old and new means when I say, oh yeah, that's the old one.
Yeah,
You immediately think, oh, where's the new one?
Yeah.
And
not follow no more.
right. Personally, I would probably name them the First and the Second Testament.
First edition, second edition.
Exactly.
Something to that effect.
But yeah, that's basically the rest of what I got.
Before, after Christ. Star Wars scene.
Dun, dun.
Okay. What's your comment section?
For comment section, I want to know from the Old Testament, what's your favorite story? From the New Testament, what's your favorite parable or your favorite event in the New Testament?
Cool. I like that. I'll give my 2-part now. Okay. My 2-part. 1. Old Testament. God told Abraham to sacrifice his son. Abraham gathered up his stuff, grabbed